England in 1066 was a kingdom on the brink of profound change. King Edward the Confessor, a devout and pious man, lay on his deathbed. Edward's reign had been long and relatively peaceful, but it lacked one crucial element, an heir. This uncertainty over the royal succession cast a long shadow over England, for a power vacuum at the top invited chaos and competition. Into this volatile mix stepped several powerful contenders, each believing they had the rightful claim to the English throne. Among them was Harold Godwinson, the ambitious and powerful Earl of Wessex. Harold, a skilled warrior and shrewd politician, enjoyed the support of the English nobility. He was, after all, the most powerful man in England after the king. However, his claim to the throne was not without its challenges. Across the English Channel, William, Duke of Normandy, also harbored ambitions for the English crown. William claimed that Edward had promised him the throne years earlier. Adding fuel to the fire was Harold Hardrada, the formidable Viking king of Norway, who believed his lineage gave him a stake in the contest for England. As Edward's health deteriorated, these rivals prepared for the inevitable power struggle that would follow his death. The stage was set for a three-way clash of titans. Harold Godwinson, the English earl, would face challenges from both the north and the south. Harold Hardrada, the Viking king, and William of Normandy, the ambitious duke, each posed a formidable threat to Harold's claim and to the future of England itself. The year 1066 would be a year like no other in English history. It would be a year of battles, bloodshed, and conquest, a year that would determine the fate of England for centuries to come. The stakes could not have been higher, the potential consequences more profound. The death of a king had plunged England into a fight for its very survival. The first challenge to Harold Godwinson came from the north, a fierce storm of Viking longships led by the legendary Harold Hardrada. Hardrada, a seasoned warrior who had fought from the Caspian Sea to the Mediterranean, was not a man to be underestimated. He landed in northern England with a formidable force, intent on adding England to his list of conquests. Harold, crowned king after Edward's death, had little time to celebrate his new title. News of the Viking invasion reached him almost immediately, forcing him to act swiftly and decisively. Gathering his forces, Harold marched north at a grueling pace, covering the vast distance from southern England to Yorkshire in just a matter of days. His army, though weary from the journey, was determined to repel the invaders. The two armies met at the Battle of Stamford Bridge on September 25, 1066. The battle was a brutal and bloody affair, a clash of axes, swords, and shields. Harold's forces, though outnumbered, fought with the ferocity of men defending their homeland. The tide turned when Hardrada, overconfident and exposed, was struck down by an English arrow. With their leader slain, the Viking army faltered, their ranks collapsing into chaos and retreat. Harold's victory at Stamford Bridge was a resounding one, a testament to his leadership and the courage of his soldiers. However, it was a victory bought at a cost. His army, exhausted and depleted, had little time to savor their triumph. Even as Harold Godwinson celebrated his victory over the Vikings at Stamford Bridge, a new threat was emerging in the south. William, Duke of Normandy, had been carefully observing events across the English Channel. Upon hearing of Edward the Confessor's death and Harold's coronation, William immediately began assembling a vast invasion fleet. He was determined to enforce what he saw as his rightful claim to the English throne, a claim supposedly promised to him by Edward himself. William's ambition was fueled by more than just a sense of destiny. Normandy, under his rule, had grown into a powerful and prosperous duchy. Seizing the English crown would not only elevate William's status, but also provide him with access to England's wealth and resources. After weeks of preparation, William's fleet set sail, carrying thousands of Norman soldiers, horses, and siege weapons across the English Channel. The sight of the Norman fleet, a vast armada of warships stretching across the horizon, must have sent shivers down the spines of those who witnessed it. Landing at Pevensey Bay in Sussex, William's forces quickly established a beachhead, their arrival marking the beginning of the Norman conquest. Harold, still in the north after his victory at Stamford Bridge, received the news of William's invasion with a heavy heart. He knew that another battle was inevitable, this time against a foe far more organized, equipped, and determined than the Vikings. The fate of England, it seemed, would be decided on a battlefield in the south. Harold Godwinson, exhausted but resolute, marched his army south to confront William of Normandy. The two armies met near Hastings, their ranks arrayed on a gently sloping hillside. The English, under Harold's command, formed a formidable shield wall at the crest of the hill. Their shields, a wall of wood and iron, presented a daunting obstacle to the Norman attackers. The English army, composed primarily of infantry, relied on the strength of their shield wall and the ferocity of their attacks to repel their enemies. The Norman army, in contrast, boasted a more diverse composition. William's forces included not only infantry, but also a significant number of cavalry and archers. Norman knights, heavily armored and mounted on powerful war horses, were a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Their tactics involved charges designed to break enemy lines and sow chaos in their ranks. The archers, armed with powerful longbows, rained down a deadly hail of arrows upon the English, softening their defences before the cavalry charged. The Battle of Hastings commenced with a barrage of Norman arrows which flew through the air towards the English lines. The English, protected by their shields, withstood the initial onslaught. Then the Norman infantry advanced, their swords and axes clashing against the English shields. The fighting was fierce and relentless, a brutal back-and-forth struggle for every inch of ground. William's cavalry, eager to exploit any weakness in the English lines, launched repeated charges, their heavy horses crashing into the English shield wall.